Let me ask you something. Have you ever watched a mosh pit in silence? I mean, maybe you have, but have you really paid attention to it? Really took a second to think about just what is going on here? In the moment, it's impossible to separate the music from the movement, but just take a look at it. The chaotic movements and violent nature of the dance seems to fade away, and we are left with something rather beautiful. It is organic, spontaneous, and organized. A large group of people all simultaneously dancing together and adhering to the same basic rules of the dance. It breaks out when a crowd senses something in the music, whether it be a ferocious breakdown, a two-step guitar riff, a hard EDM drop, a raging hip-hop beat, or many, many other things.
I just got to get something out. Hey, bang my head against the wall. You know, that there's like somebody else feeling like you feeling, and y'all energy is just bouncing off each other. Boom, yeah.
It has begun to transcend genres, cultures, languages, and countries. In just about 4 decades, the mosh pit, the slam dance, the skank, raging, or whatever you want to call it, has become something of a transcendent dance craze. And let me be clear with you, this is absolutely a dance, complete with standard patterns, steps, moves, and it has aesthetic and symbolic value to the people doing it, whether they realize it or not. Stripping away the music, the beat, the pulse, the rhythm, the soundtrack to the dance, we are left with just the raw, unfiltered human energy.
That nobody can completely explain.
There's this whole sort of tension that just kind of rises.
You can smell it, you can taste it.
This is about as close as modern human beings can ever get to a medieval combat melee without finding themselves in actual danger. The flashing lights of the stage, the pounding rhythm of the music, and the frenzy of the people surrounding you is one of the most stimulating, profound, fun, and terrifying forms of dance one can find themselves in. If the pit is wide open and spacious, it becomes an exercise in maneuvering and body momentum, with dancers flying across the pit and slamming into each other, often redirecting their momentum towards onlookers on the sides. These people are also part of the dance routine, and they will do their unspoken duty and shove the person back into the pit where they came from, almost as if it's a game of human pinball. Or sometimes the dancers will arrange themselves into a mass of circulating bodies, always spinning in a counterclockwise motion, a mass of humanity running together. If the pit is packed with people, it becomes more of an exercise in bodily autonomy and survival. To stay on your feet despite being knocked around, pushed, and bounced in arbitrary directions. It becomes a very personal and intimate affair, the sweat from others leaving wet marks on your clothing as they throw themselves or are thrown into you. The smell of sweat and breath fills your nostrils. Your ears are pummeled by the sonic waves coming from the music, your eyes constantly looking for the next person to swing at you, or at the crowd surfers, or even at the flashing lights of the stage. Almost every sense is overloaded during this dance, and this is on purpose.
Join with the energy from everyone else in the pit. You feel bodies up against you. You're forcing yourself to constantly stay on your feet.
The pit.
If you dropped someone completely alien to our current society and ways of life, they would see a mosh pit as some sort of surrogate dance for war and aggression. You can relate these to ancient war dances where people perform surrogate activities for battle to train themselves. It looks almost exactly the same as riots and street melees. It would point out that our current society almost entirely lacks outlets for these very primal of human emotions, and that this ritualistic dance, which is often performed under the most extreme of music genres, provides this outlet. When you are participating in this dance, there are few unwritten rules, which everyone knows. Dissenters, or people who unknowingly break these rules, usually have their behavior corrected promptly by other members participating in it. It is essential that these rules are adhered to, lest the violence and physical nature of a mosh pit cause someone to get legitimately hurt. Despite this being an analog for warfare, the goal is not to hurt someone.
brutal. It's still crazy. I mean, the kids are losing their minds, but the last thing they want to do is hurt each other, man. They just want to have fun. They just want to do their thing.
It trains the skill of concentrating at your current task, which is surviving amongst the chaos, the noise, the lights. This is a hyper-stimulating environment where one must be completely locked in to participate and to thrive in. The skill of balance and footwork in a melee is incredibly important skills to refine for one to thrive in war. Just look at a wall of death. This is literally as close as one can get to hand-to-hand combat without joining a riot. War dances and surrogate battles have been part of societies practically since the dawn of human expression, and we as modern people are no different. This primal instinct to smash and be violent in controlled ways must come out somehow. The mosh pit is one of these places in which our current culture has found the outlet to these emotions, seemingly conveniently ignored when the phrase, "the West has no culture," is uttered ignorantly. The mosh pit is perhaps one of the only organized modern dance routines which people participate in regularly, which is a strange ironic twist considering the attitudes most modern metalheads have towards dancing. This dance routine has been readily adopted by almost every other culture on Earth, although they usually have their own twist on it. Perhaps one of the first and earliest examples of a true global dance craze, long before the Macarena or Gangnam Style. The mosh pit and all its variations seem to touch on some very primal and very human emotions. Its symbolic value is appreciated beyond language and cultural barriers, a proxy for war and aggression when the cost and danger associated with real combat has perhaps never been as high as it is now. So the next time you find yourself at a concert and a mosh pit breaks out, take a second to observe. Observe how, in an almost a psychic way, the crowd will part to create the dance floor. Observe how the experienced dancers will start the dance themselves. Observe the trepidation of the young and inexperienced dancers as they get their first taste of this oh-so-modern, ancient of rituals, the war dance. Observe the unspoken rules which must be strictly adhered to. Observe how the band on stage may direct or command the dancers to do certain dances, whether it be the wall of death, circle pits, or even rowing. They are in charge, and the crowd listens to them. Observe the smiles and camaraderie which comes after the aggression and violence of the dance. If you've ever been in a particularly rough pit, you know exactly what I am talking about. I don't think I've ever hugged as many strangers as I did after the Knocked Loose show I saw about a year ago. Take a second and take in this experience. You're witnessing and participating in something extremely profound, primal, and unique to us as modern peoples, yet something which is very, very intrinsically human, the mosh pit. Get up on your feet, don't look so obsolete, and thrash like an athlete. Don't sit there on your ass, don't look like you got too much class, you'll be harassed. You know we guaranteed this is the key, so rage or get the third degree. You begin frontal assaults and start your somersaults, and do the toxic waltz.